So last year, October, we were at 61.79%. 1,673. That's probably the big one.
And ain't nobody bid.
Okay, at 6 o'clock, I call this meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee to order. Glad to see everyone out tonight. Glad to see everybody. I'm up here with all my friends. I'm in the back. Hello, back there.
Back further state.
First item on our agenda tonight was to review the minutes from the, I believe it was October 19th meeting. Should be the second page in your packet. Do we have any additions or corrections to the minutes? Have a motion by Mr. Harsh to approve the minutes. Approve the minutes is written and second by Mr. Fowler. Next, we will get into the county financial summary, trustee reports. We have the trustee trial balance, which gives us our current cash balances in these various accounts. Shows that we currently have an ending balance total of $24,188,982, some odd cents. That's a little bit, I believe, possibly below where we were this same time last year. You get into our 101 general fund, our property tax has not come in quite at the level it did last year. I don't think there's anything to be alarmed at yet. So far, according to this, we've received $1,296,217, which is 46.7% of our budget. Last year at this time, we were $1,657,000, or right at 61%. So it is obvious in talking with Cindy, it was a little bit slower coming in this year with people taking the discount. I believe she did say we got the core civic payment in October. So I think that big chunk is included in this. So just have to see how it progresses with November and December to see how we actually fall out with it this year. But evidently not quite as many people availed themselves of the 2% discount as it was last year, which last year was probably the most successful, I guess you'd say, on the early tax payments that we've ever had, I believe, are pretty close to it. So any questions on the trustees report before we get into the other accounts? Anyone have any questions about it? Not, entertain a motion to approve it. Mr. Gregory makes a motion to approve it. Mr. Walsh makes a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. It is done. Moving into the 101 general fund on revenues. Like we were talking about, right now in the 4th month of the year, fiscal year, we are looking at roughly 33.33 is the magic number to see whether we're where we need to be or behind. Property tax is at 46%. Of course, it's ahead of that number, but like I said, not quite what it was this time last year. And that affects some of the other numbers, such as the discount on property tax. Going down through there, most all of the other things seem to be in line. I don't see any great anomalies. There's some that the percentages look particularly high, but they're not large dollar amounts. So it's somewhat inconsequential. Any questions on page 1? Move over to the next page. It's into basically the jail and court fees that come in. I saw nothing there that looked extremely out of line or looked like it needed to be really investigated. If anyone has any questions or sees a problem with something, please speak up. Beer tax is bringing in a little bit more revenue than normal. Looks like our some of the things that were quite a bit lower last month are beginning to pick up, jump up a little bit. You notice that. Total revenues, we've brought in 48.74% of our budget. A little bit less than last year at this time. And it's pretty much because of the sales tax issue, the property tax issue. Any questions about either the revenues in the 101 fund? Okay, move into expenditures. Looks like most all of the expenditures are at or below 33%, at least the ones that we have total control of. A few of them are a bit above that, mainly because of one-time purchases or first of the year purchases where we pay for the whole year in the first quarter. Saw nothing out of line in the 101 general fund. There again, we're expenditures at 31.56%, which is below that magic 33%. But it looks like our expenditures are holding the line very well for to be this early into the end of the year.
The corners look a little good.
What was?
Corners, 54, 62.
Some of that we get paid back.
Hopefully.
It's a little lag. It's at $11,850.
If you look back on the revenues, line item 44,180, expenditure credits, that's where it's being deposited.
That's where it came back in. So $3,950 of that we received back. Here it's on page 2, about middle way. 44,180. There's reimbursement of all policies. Anything else in 101? Moving into 111 Urban Services Fund, we're at 41.38%. Large chunk of that, I believe, has to do with the streetscapes, where we, on the revenue side, we had quite a bit of extra revenue, a little bit coming in, a little bit more, I guess, than budgeted, I should say, particularly on building permits. And There again, this time last year, I think we were sitting close to 50%.
Well,
Yes,
on the streetscape, I said they reimbursed us $124. Maybe that's what we spent, or what we spent.
That's as much as we asked for.
So we have to pay all that out, then they reimburse us at that point.
yes.
What do they like other than just the landscaping?
I'm sorry?
What do they like other than just sitting in trees and
As far as I know,
That's
nothing
it.
else.
I think we had one invoice, last invoice came in, had a little bit of their engineering fees still on it. It was
It did, there was some
miscellaneous.
some snafu somewhere in the building, and we didn't get billed for July until a few weeks ago.
That's just about to wind up, since we did trees and around that. And in the expenditures, there again, what I was saying earlier is making that look a little higher than you would think would be where we paid out on these capital projects, the streetscape projects. Any questions on that? Move into the solid waste. Finally, we're getting it where it's running overall a little bit above the budgeted amount on revenues. Expenditures are holding very well on it. You can see 29.55. Questions on it? 118, the ambulance service fund. Everything looks about as normal there, other than the fact that the property tax is a little bit lower than we would have hoped for it this month. All right with me. Port City, pass through. Write it in, we write it out. Drug fund. Never know where it's coming from, where it's going to fall. It's basically just the end of the year. Depends on how much court action we have and how we're able to collect the fines there. Highway fund. They're a little bit below the revenue expectations. This tends to run about a month behind in getting the funding from the state coming into the month it's applied to. I think we have to take that into consideration. Expenditures are very much in line at this point in time going into the winter season. Any questions on here? Next on page 11, the 151 debt service, 44,110 investment income. There's an anomaly there showing that 460% of budget. We had budgeted $5,000, we have $23,023. I want to think there's probably some accounting error in that, possibly, or something misclassified.
I just haven't had a moment to ask them again.
I think there is a problem with that. That we'll have to look into to try to figure out what that is. See what I'm talking about? Page 11, 44,110. There again, it's not a large amount of money, but it sure makes the percentages look wacky.
I thought about just doing some interest in it at that time.
And it's possible, I just haven't had a minute to ask them about it just yet.
You got a lot of money on interest, so it could be, but no one they're paying, it probably ain't.
And it very well could be, but that's what it came out to be.
Because the rest of the funds aren't showing that same rate, I'm doubting it, but we don't know.
Well, if it was $23,047, but when you're 23,023, it makes me think somebody transposed the number there somewhere. I mean, typically when you're doing auditing on figures, you're looking for duplication of numbers. There's a quick spot where there's a mistake. So that's why I think they're possibly in error there. But we'll get to the bottom of it and find out for sure. Let everybody know by next time. Next, education debt service. Our wheel tax revenues are a little bit down, but they're picking up a little bit more than they were in the previous 3 months. I think you can see they're gradually coming back. Schools paid their portion of that, thank you. And glad to see that go through. Any questions on it? Yes.
On page 11 there, I looked at the expenditures down there. It don't tell me how much we still owe, like on the administration building. It does tell me we didn't pay anything on it. You know how many more payments we got?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir, but I can get out of that schedule this week. I can email out.
And the way I understand it, you paid all patrol cars off and permit loaded.
Yes, sir.
That's why it says 100%. Any further questions? Entertain a motion to accept it, Mr. Nolan.
I haven't heard it over the years, but how are we getting paid off this gambling?
Well, I know I did see today that they said the first month that they took in 23 million or was it more than that? I think it was $23 million. What was the figure that I heard? How much we'll get, when we'll get?
CTAS sent this out, and I read it today. It says the act for the Sports Gambling Act became effective November 1st, 2020. The funds are actually remitted to the state, and then the state will distribute it to us based on per capita, which means it's going to be based on, it says here, the last federal census. It also says it's going to be a while before you start seeing the revenues come in, and that any revenue funds distributed to the local government can only go to capital projects, such as transportation, roads, buildings, that kind of stuff. And CTAS says they recommend that it's required that you segregate these funds out because you have to keep track of them because they can only go to those expenditures. And they recommend putting that into a segregated capital projects fund when it comes in. So.
Y'all can thank me for that too, because most of that money's mine.
Well, the thing about it, it's going to be based on your population, not based on the people in your county that use it. So if somebody doesn't gamble a penny here, of course we know that's not the case now, we're going to at least get our percentage of it or share of it back, I think is the intent, my understanding.
I just had never heard, I just wondered.
Like all those things from the state, they won't tell us when we'll get it. They'll just tell us we'll get it, and we have to look thankful when it finally shows up. I don't know how else to put it.
I'm still trying to continue.
Have we heard anything back on count, knowing how many we got in the county?
On the census count, I haven't
Nope.
seen anything come through.
They don't send the numbers to the states until April 1st. That's required by some
I
federal
read that
statute.
somewhere, but I thought somebody might have heard something.
Yeah, it'll be into next year before we know that. The good thing is we should know it before the end of the fiscal year, in case it makes much difference as far as our budget next year. But as far as knowing it early, I doubt it. It's just not looking likely. Any other questions on the report? Entertaining motion to approve.
I'm waiting.
I'm sorry.
I was
Mayor,
gonna
you have
say,
something else?
I looked up the debt schedule that Ms. Thomas has online on her drive folder. It says at the beginning of this year on the administration building, there was owed $291,000, so that's July 1st, 2020. At the end of this current fiscal year, there should be remaining $225,000.
Y'all want to move on? Somebody give me a motion.
I'll do it.
Ms. Ford makes a motion to accept. Mr. Flaherty seconds. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is none. Next, we'll move into our budget amendments. Got a few. First one is BA 101-08R Senior Center, $3,317. This is taking funds that were committed to the senior center and moving them other supplies and materials so they can spend them. This was to purchase a carport for the second van that they required and to pay for the printing on the cookbooks that they sell as a fundraiser. This did pass, the steering committee sent it on to budget and finance. So, any questions on it? Have a motion to approve by Ms. Johnson, second by Ms. Jones. Any other questions on it? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Send that forward Monday night. Next is BA 10109, an insurance recovery of $21,904. This is the insurance funds that came in on the courthouse for the incident where the pipe burst and damaged the flooring throughout the lobby. The repairs are progressing very well on that project.
Well, they were. The gentleman who's doing the installation got COVID.
Okay.
So it's going to be mid-December before that project is completed.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve. Second by Mr. Gregory. Mr. Harsh, Mr. Gregory. Any other questions on it? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Send it forward. Next is BA 101-10, Senior Center. This is some of the CARES Act grant funding to be used for supplies, materials, and office equipment. They're going to use this, I think, to purchase a copier, possibly, and some other miscellaneous things.
More groceries and personal items
Okay.
and coffee.
This is an approved expenditure under the CARES Act to be used for this money. All in, have a motion by Mr. Ford, Ms. Jones seconds. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll move that one on. Okay, BA 116-01, Convenience Center. This is a request to amend the 116 solid waste budget. This is taking a position that was classified as a mechanic, moving it over to classify the new hire just as labor, not necessarily giving them a mechanic's title. You're just moving money from one line item to the other, all for personnel. This is made request by Mr. Saleh. Any questions about that?
Is he hiring another laborer?
Yes.
Have a motion approved by Mr. Gregory, second by Ms. Jones. Everybody understand? Any questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. One BA 141-12. This is to amend the 141 General Purpose School Fund. This is a U-Trust grant. This came in as a grant and want to use it for principal, wants to use it in their office for supplies and materials. It's $300. Money coming in, money going out, whether they want to spend it. Have a motion by Ms. Johnson to approve, second by Mr. Ford. Any questions? Any none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is done. Next is another request by the school board, BA 141-13, to grant $13,281. This came from, it's coming out of state education funds and going into several categories. They're mostly health services, is that correct?
Yes.
Dr. Satterfield? Some of this was a carryover from last year plus what they received this year.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Harsh and a second by Ms. Johnson. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. It is approved. Is there any other business any of the commissioners would like to bring before the committee tonight? Mayor, do you have anything else you'd like to bring to the committee tonight?
No, sir.
Okay. Public, have any comments from the public? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Walsh?
Make a motion to adjourn. Stand by.
Got a question?
Yeah. The mayor was gonna look at, I think he's gonna look at September, or October or something, when Cliff's boys asked for a raise, that we're gonna review it, see if they could get more. Has anything been done on that?
Well, the personnel committee, after discussing them, they'd like to have a wage study done. We reached out to 3 consultants to do it. One of them gave us a price and said they're not going to do it, so they gave us a price that's astronomical. Another one that came in was highly recommended, gave us a price that's under $20,000, and we asked a third one. And he came and met with me and Ms. Howard, and he has yet to give us a quote. So right now we've only got the 2, and he's got to the end of the week. He doesn't give it to us. We're going to go forward and come back to the budget and finance, ask for that funding to be done in January and start that process.
And do you know how much more they will be paid? Or?
I have no idea. That's why we're doing the wage study. He's going to come in and compare our positions. He's going to do job description for every position in the county, except for the schools, and then he's going to look at what other like counties and ones around us are paying, and he's going to come up with a recommended wage scale that we're going to include in the personnel policy when we submit it at that time. I talked to Mr. Bellard. They did something similar, or going through something similar in Smith County, and he recommends waiting until the wage study is done and the new job descriptions are done until we submit the personnel policy to the county personnel committee and the commission for approval, because it's basically going to be a complete rewrite of your policies. And we currently have no wage scale, so this will be the first time we have one.
Sorry, any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When are they gonna plant the trees and the shrubs and the landscape?
They were supposed to start last week, but their suppliers didn't get them the flowers and the trees and all that stuff to them, so they were supposed to start this week, but they were supposed to call me when they're gonna have a start date, and I haven't heard from them today, so. It's supposed to be sometime this week if their supplies come in.
My understanding, if they go out of November with this, they will have to start paying penalties?
They've got to a certain date. They've been paying liquidated damages up till the beginning of July. If they don't start, it should start again.
So it behooves them to get it done, particularly with the good weather they've had. Now, Mr. Walker.
Make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Y'all hang around, we'll talk amongst yourselves.